Hi and welcome to Fun Swedish. Today's topic is kläder, clothes. Det finns inget dåligt väder, bara dåliga kläder. But before we start, a good thing to know is that clothing can be a little bit subjective. What is for someone a poncho is perhaps for someone else just a sweater. So, some of the clothes we're going to talk about today can have different translations in English or in your mother tongue, depending on your definition. So have this in mind today when we go through this video. So, let's start with the upper part of the body. A word you absolutely need to know is the word tröja. Tröja is the most common word we use to describe any kind of jersey or shirt, or thing you wear to cover your upper body, as long as it doesn't have knappar, buttons. What I'm wearing today is, for example, en tröja. And in plural, you would say tröjor. But we will make another video about the plural constructions in Swedish. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that video. Anyway, if a tröja looks more like this, basically it has knappar, then we need to call it something else. Then we call it en skjorta, and in plural, skjortor. And in most part of Stockholm, we pronounce this combination, SKJ, as the Juan sound, or I have something stuck in my throat sound. So remember, it should sound more like skjorta. Nowadays, we use the word skjorta both for female and male shirts. But we also have another word that is a little bit more used for female shirts, and that would be the word blus, and blus. More clothing you can have on your upper body. En tjocktröja. Here you see the word tröja again, but combined with the word tjock. Tjock has different meanings, but here it can be translated to thick. So we basically say thick shirt, en tjocktröja. And we use this word when we're talking about a sweater, normally if it looks more like a hoodie, like in this example, en tjocktröja. Other words, ett linne, eller en topp. This is how we say a tank top. En polotröja, a polo or a turtleneck, and t-shirt. Yes, we actually use this Swedish word to say t-shirt. Maybe we pronounce it a little bit more Swedish and t-shirt. But we have the same word and we use the same spelling. En kofta, a cardigan. Anything else missing? Oh yeah, the bra. But the word bra in Swedish means good. So we need to use another word to say bra in Swedish. The Swedish word for bra is en bh. And bh is an abbreviation, a shorter version for this word, en bysthållare. A very descriptive word that kind of tells us the use of it, because it means a breast holder. Let's move on to the lower part of the body. The most common word to talk about trousers or pants, depending on what English country you come from, is byxor. And if you're wearing jeans, then we say jeans. So basically the same word, but with a Swedish accent, jeans. Other words that we borrow from English and that we totally butchered are these words: pyjamas, pajamas, shorts, shorts. The original Swedish word for shorts is actually kortbyxor, short pants. But we also use the English word. But remember, again, with a Swedish accent. So you need to say shorts. And this is important because if you don't say shorts and say shorts instead, then you might meet a Swede that doesn't understand what you're saying and you can hear this famous va. Moving on, then we have ett skärp or ett bälte. Both things are used to describe the thing that every plumber should have. And the word skärp is a funny one, because we need this word when we want to say behave in Swedish. Skärp dig. It basically means belt yourself, behave, skärp dig. So you could technically say to someone that's showing their butt crack, skärp dig, sätt på dig ett skärp. Moving on the lower part of your body. Underkläder, underwear. Female underwear is en trosa, and trosor in plural. And this word is also a funny one because it's the same word as a city in Sweden. Throughout the years, many people have made jokes about the city Trosa. And for male underwear, the most common word we use is kalsong or kalsonger in plural. This is a borrowed word from another language, I think. And in Swedish slang, we just call them kalsingar. Var är mina Björn Borg-kalsingar? And in the bottom of our body, we have våra fötter, our feet. And we need to protect them with some strumpor, socks. And if you have lost one sock, then you can say, jag hittar inte min andra strumpa. And then on your strumpor, you might need to have some skor, shoes. Remember here, the pronunciation is quite different from English. Because in Swedish, when we have SK together with a back vowel, like we have here, the O is a back vowel, then it becomes a K sound. So that's why we say skor. But again, if you want to know more about all these pronunciation rules, check out this video. Skor is a whole topic here in Sweden, and it actually deserves its own video. But the important thing for you to know is that Swedes always take off their shoes inside their homes. Sometimes also in the offices or in the schools. So you better get some nice strumpor if you go there. And if you go to the doctor, then you also take them off, or you use these beautiful blue things for the shoes. Just remember to take them off before you leave the doctor, otherwise you're gonna look ridiculous in the street. So the reason why we take off our shoes is because otherwise the houses get so dirty from all the snow and the slush. So remember, always take off your shoes when you visit a Swede for the first time. Otherwise the Swede will be very offended. Skor is the common word we use for all kind of shoes. But if we're talking about more specific shoes, for example for the winter, like boots, then we have two other words. We have stövlar and kängor. Stövlar is more used when they're made of plastic, especially for rainy weather. And kängor is more used when we use them for snow. But again, clothing is very subjective and this can vary a bit. What else do we have during the winter here in Sweden? Oh yeah, and jacka, a jacket. And if we're referring to the winter jacket, then we say en vinterjacka, normally a thicker one, which makes us all look very fat and like a Michelin figure. Other types of jackets we have is, for example, en rock. Normally, but not always, a rock is very thin and very long, and it also has a belt normally. It can look something like this or something like that. Then we also have en morgonrock. No, this doesn't mean morning rock and roll. What? It's just how we say a robe, en morgonrock. Another type of coat, which is normally shorter and perhaps more used by women, is en kappa. They can look like this. So, let's move on. In Sweden, they teach us that a very important clothing to wear during the winter is en mössa, a beanie. This is important since it protects your brain, especially when it gets cold here, so that you can still remember all the Swedish words I have taught you. We also have the word en hatt, a hat, but this is more used in the summer or if you just want to be stylish. But in contrast to en mössa, it doesn't protect your ears. And for our neck, en halsduk, a neck cloth. That's the literal translation, en halsduk. And gloves. If the purpose is to protect us from the cold, then we normally use the word vantar. Maybe it's more like mittens in English. But we also have the word handskar. These are normally thinner ones, or the ones we use when we're cleaning or in the hospital perhaps. But again, in the winter we use more vantar here. And something that happens every Swede at least 10 times during our lives is that we lose our vante. A very common tradition we do here, if someone loses their vante and you can't find the owner right away, then we put the vante on a place where it can be seen, for example on a tree or on a fence, so that the person who lost it can perhaps go back and find it again. It's quite cute and the chances of finding your vante is quite high. Just look up on the trees. And then we have come to some clothing that you might use in some fancy party situations, like a wedding. En kostym, a suit. This can be a little bit like a false friend because it sounds a bit like costume. But in Swedish we have another word for costume, if you're referring to a Halloween costume, for example. Then we say en dräkt. So, en kostym for us is suit. Next words. En klänning, a dress. En kjol, a skirt. And remember here, when we have KJ together, it also makes this sh sound. En kavaj, a suit jacket. And slips, a tie. In Sweden, for some reason, it's very popular that guys wears this one instead of a tie for fancier events. For example, for New Year's Eve, you're gonna see a lot of Swedes wearing this. What else do we have left? Oh yeah, en keps, a baseball cap basically. So here, this breaks the rule, because normally in Swedish, when we have the combination K with an E, it becomes more of a sh sound, but not in this case, because keps is pronounced here like a K sound. And this happens when we have bara words. These can break the normal pronunciation rules in Swedish. Keps. The last thing I want to mention is the clothing that Swedish people wear during their fredagsmys, their cozy Friday, or when they're having Zoom calls at work. Mjukisbyxor, sweatpants, and tofflor, slippers. So comfortable. So, hope you find this video useful. Write down in the comment section below if you want to know any other clothing that we perhaps missed. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe and put a like. Hej då!